Good morning, friends, and welcome to another episode of Tabletop Humans, where I invite other humans in the tabletop space to chat about the work they do, whether it's game design, actual plays, charity work, what have you. We'll play a party game and then we'll have you home in time for lunch. I'm your host, Jess the Human, and today's human guest is Matt, aka Improv, an RPG on the internet. Matt is an incredible TTRPG performer and improviser who teaches others how to hone their craft. I am so excited to talk to him today about improving your RPG improv skills, bringing your wardrobe to the table, and so much more, not to mention what his good morning proclamation is going to be for the day. With that being said, Matt, welcome. Thank you so much for joining me today. Can you please introduce yourself and let us know what you do as a human in the tabletop space and outside of it as well?
Yes, of course. Thank you so much for having me, Jess. I'm so excited. My name is Matt, he, him pronouns. And, as far as the TTRPG space is concerned, I'm all about teaching beginners how to role play at the table through very small steps, small practical steps, so that it seems a little bit less daunting. It's a little bit easier. Just little baby steps to get into it. Outside of TTRPGs, I've got a desk job. I do accounting, so that's how I guess that's like the Superman Clark Kent thing without powers, where I've got my thing where I'm like, okay, I have to be strict, structured, regimented, and then I get to do whatever I want afterwards.
You know
So,
what? I love that for you. I think that's a really good balance. And you have a super cute cat.
oh,
So,
thank you. Lily getting the shout outs.
heyo. I got to see her right beforehand. I'm so sorry for y'all. Y'all won't get to see her. But Matt, thank you again for being here. I'm really excited to chat with you today. But before we kind of get into things, I want to talk about how you got started in doing what you do now. You know, you're really well known for mixing RPG and improv. It's literally your username. But what drew you to improv? Do you have a professional background in performance? How did you get started?
I ran a comedy club for a little bit. I ran an improv troupe. I taught people. I was emceeing and performing. But what drew me to improv was the fact that up until basically near the end of college, I was the opposite of improv. Every single thing in my life was so planned. I was the kid that in the 4th grade, in the yearbook, they're like, "Okay, we're gonna do something fun for our class. We want you to put what you're gonna be in the future." And a lot of people were like, "Oh, I'm gonna be a firefighter." Some of the cheekier kids were like, "I wanna be Superman." And then I was the kid that wrote, "I'm gonna be a certified public accountant." And so it was all destined. Like everything I did from even just ordering food for my family. Like my dad would be like, "Oh, okay, well you're English, so order a pizza." And so then I would spend maybe 10 minutes trying to figure out my script for how I'm going to order the pizza so that there's no questions, because if they ask me a question, I'm going to implode on myself. And so basically all of life up until maybe I was 20, 21 was just me hoping that I could plan for everything, and then uh possibly passing out if something came up that I didn't plan for. And that's what pulled me to improv, because some of my friends invited me to see a show. We loved it. It was always in the vein of, man, I could never do that. Especially back then, watching Whose Line Is It Anyway? Like seeing Wayne Brady just bust out a song in a genre about a person he just met. I'm like, that's impossible. I'm just not born with that. But then we saw that show and it turned out there were free workshops. And I was like, wait a second, I could try this. This maybe I could develop this skill. And I mean, it took a few years, but here I am, and I feel like I've grown as a person because of it. And so now I like to think of myself as the personal testimonial of if I can do it, anyone can do it.
I feel like we're pretty good friends. I had no
Yeah,
idea about any of this. This is so much fun. I think this is one of my favorite questions that I ask people when they come on, how
it's
they
such a
got
good
their
question.
start. Goodness. Okay, so you've been doing this for a while now.
Mhm.
When did you get to the point where you were like, you know what? I'm comfortable with where I'm at. Now I want to start teaching other people.
When I started teaching people, it wasn't in the vein of like online. It was just teaching classes. And when I started teaching, I wasn't comfortable yet. I was I was terrified, but it kind of came about as a matter of semi necessity because the place where I was learning from, where a lot of people were learning from, unfortunately they closed down. They stopped doing free classes, and so all I was thinking was, I've got all these friends who uh, are very talented. They're very good, and I don't want them to not be able to learn anymore. I want us to be able to keep practicing together, and so I started calling random coffee shops around and saying, "Hey, is there any chance we could do like a little practice somewhere?" And one of them was super chill, and they were said, "It's fine as long as you don't mind people walking through to get to their hot yoga class." And I'm like, "Great, as long as they don't mind." And so I just started teaching when the situation was just that we no longer had anyone teaching, and I was like, okay, I'll step up. I'm terrified. I don't know what to do, but we'll give this a shot. And so I just kind of jumped in head first and just developed the skills along the way.
You were doing it in person first.
Yes.
When did you
Mhm.
decide to take what you were doing and create your YouTube channel?
When everything shut down, I was like, "Oh no, we can't we can't meet up anymore." And so at that point, one of my friends got me into D&D online. We started playing TTRPGs online, and then I found that I loved it. And so I decided, you know what? With this, I could keep like feeding that improv bug, the teaching bug, and create content online where I can talk about improv stuff and connecting it to this new hobby that I had of playing TTRPGs online. And then here I am, just rocking and rolling, trying my best to give actionable tips and advice.
Ugh, amazing. Okay. Well, so for those of you who don't know, Matt's YouTube is Improv and RPG, and it's all about improving the experience at your tabletop role-playing game
Yeah,
whatever.
exactly.
Words, what are they? Who knows? Anyway, two videos that really stuck out to me while I was scrolling through were Slow Down at the Table for Teamwork. And I guess I didn't write the second one down. I was so incredibly
Oh,
excited about that one.
thank you.
Um, and so I don't think that I've actually been able to be at the table with you while you're a GM, but I have seen you GM for other tables. And I just really love your collaborative storytelling mindset. And so I'd really love to hear from you what the difference is in slowing down at the table as a game master versus as a player, and how that kind of affects the collaborating.
Yeah, so I mean, coming from a background of improv, I'm used to getting on stage with a group who is all there to perform and immediately build together. Making like essentially because everyone has trained so long, they already know, like, okay, here are the fundamental things. But in stage improv, I had also learned like, okay, you're playing with people of different levels too. Someone that might just barely be coming in, you treat them differently than someone who's very experienced. And I translate some of those skills to playing as a GM or as a player where there may be certain lines, there may be certain intensities that I hit faster if I know someone's more experienced. And so like the slow down part is essentially like, okay, if I know that a moment is particularly intense, then I'm going to find ways to insert levels so that everyone has a chance to respond how their character would heroically respond. So as a GM, one thing that I do, because I've got some players, like one of my groups has a mixture of like kids and adults. And so sometimes the kids are a little more apprehensive because they're less experienced. They're younger. They're like, "Oh, we're playing with the adults now. We have to be careful. We don't want to, it's like that kind of anxiousness of growing up. And so sometimes one of the adults is like, I want to run in and do a thing. And if it's something that I'm like, okay, this is going to be very reckless, this is going to cause a chain of events, then I'm going to add in layers where I'm like, okay, so you want to you want to run in and punch the villain. Um, what, what does your character look like as they're getting ready to do this? And then when I ask that, my intention is, of course, to get narrative description from that player, but this also gives those kids a chance to think about what they wanna do. There's more time because the thing hasn't happened yet. There's still these steps where it's like, "Okay, I can consider, oh, I'm seeing this, maybe I could jump in and help. Maybe I could stop them." Whatever they wanna do, it's just adding in more time, more little pockets of time without it having to be like a full pause moment. Although a pause can be very, very helpful too. Um, but my slowing down as a GM generally involves just adding little steps so that we can keep playing while allowing other players to think, process, and figure out what they really want to do. Um, and as a player, if I'm, say, the one that wants to run in and punch the villain, then I will add in those moments where I'm like, okay, so Terrence, in response to these grave words from the villain, you all see him clench his teeth, his fists are balling up, and he looks like he wants to punch something. I'll add in little sentences like that as like, this is what my character wants to do before I actually say he's going to go up and punch them. Just to be like, hey, I want everyone to have a chance because my character's not the main character here. We're all a team here. And so I want everyone to have a chance to be the heroes they want to be. Usually in a team, it's like everyone is acting at once. Whether it's they're all stopping me from punching the guy or they're all coming with me to punch the guy. And so
Ooh.
it's just about those little steps.
Well, another thing that has a bunch of little steps, I think, is world building. And so when you're doing TTRPGs, that comes with sometimes a lot of world building, or if you like more improv, not that much world building. So when it comes to being a GM and similarly for being a player, how much of the world do you like to build out, whether that's the campaign setting that you're going to be playing in or your backstory, or how much do you like just kind of making up in the moment?
When I started DMing, GMing, I did very little world building because I ran modules. Um, a friend of mine was actually the one that got me into it because I was just playing at the time. And he was like, "Hey, would you mind taking over the reins and running this for us, this specific module?" And I was like, "Oh, hell yeah, let's go." And so I didn't have to do any world building because the module kind of took care of that already. It had all the NPCs, it had a map, a full town. You could go basically anywhere and it would have a person there. And so it let me take the load off and improvise as those NPCs because I didn't have to worry about coming up with names, coming up with personalities because it was all outlined. And that's how I started. But now I still do very little world building except for I base it all on the players. Because if they start to ask a question, then I will build off of their questions. I do have the luxury of having improv experience, so it's a lot easier for me to build from what they ask, what they want. But usually I leave it fairly open so that if they ask a question that's a little bit leading, if say they're like, "Is there a shadier bar that I could go to get some information," then I could be like, "Oh, definitely. There'd be one a few blocks down that you'd know of." And then that fills in that blank now. In essence, we are constructing it together, and leaving these open spaces allows me to build and say yes to more things that the players are interested in.
Okay, so now on the flip side, then, what's your process for creating characters when you're not the game master?
A lot of it has to do with what my teammates are doing first, because um, at least starting mechanically, I don't want anyone to feel like we're double dipping. I would never want to take someone else's, like, say, class and archetype, or um, if it's a like a playbook situation or anything like that, because we want to be our heroic or not heroic characters that are fun and unique. And I would hate to like be doing the same thing and chomping at their bit. Um, but additionally, I try to get a feel for the sorts of personalities that everyone wants to play, so then I can fit in to something that, um, again, is not double dipping. Because if someone is being like super broody and mysterious, we can do that, like, if they're ready for it. Because I've done some, and I like on stage, I've done some things where it's like it's a brood off where we're both trying to be edgier, but not everyone is down for that. And so I try to find the little gaps that I could fit in so that we all feel like all these different puzzle pieces coming together. And then once I found that gap, once I found that spot, then I just try to figure out a want of some sort, something that my character wants that's not easily attainable, that it could be informed by the mechanical details, because there are so many fun systems that have fun things that inform the character, whether it be backgrounds that are in place, or even like your stats. Like there was one character in particular where um I the whole thing was very like cybernetic, and you got like incredible physical enhancements, and I was like, okay, how do I justify that? How do I justify my character receiving these enhancements? And how might that shape into what my character had wanted? Is this in service of that? And wants can this is something I teach in improv all the time, is if you've got something that your character wants, you can use that as your roadmap for basically any moment. And it can start with something as simple as, I want an apple, or it can be as complex as, I want to feel important. And then you use that to um, inform every interaction. Like if it's, I want an apple, then you can ask yourself, why do I want an apple? Is it a matter of maybe my character is hungry, hasn't been able to afford food, and so just wants food? Or maybe an apple is something that is rare in this world. Maybe it's something that my characters, like parents, would always give them as a treat. And it's not so much about an apple, it's about having that sense of belonging again, of someone giving you something as a treat as opposed to, buying something. Like you start there, and then you can ask yourself the questions why. And then that can inform a lot of the character, and it'll let me give myself at least enough of a baseline backstory, usually just a paragraph. And from there, I just kind of let the game take it away because, you know, a lot of times we might decide, okay, this person is going to be broody, this person is going to be sunny and cheery. But when we play the game, we find out a lot more about each other, about the characters, about how they interact. And I keep a lot of, again, those blank spaces. I keep a lot of those open when we're playing so that if it feels like, hey, this would be a fun thing that could exist, then I have the flexibility and freedom to be like, hey, is it okay if in my backstory I also knew of this thing? Because then we could start building connections. But it all starts with the flexibility of not having everything planned out. And this is me taking shots at young pre-improv Matt.
Well, it's funny because something that it seems like you always have so well planned out is your character's wardrobe. You do a really, really good job of physically embodying your character, whether it's a hat. Specifically, you've played with a top hat a couple of times, and I always
Yes.
love those characters. Sometimes it's a wig, sometimes it's makeup. And it really feels like most of the characters that I see you play have some sort of device that you're helping, that's a signifier that, hey, I am this character right now. And so I'd love to hear from you why it's important for you to have this on screen when you're playing.
Yeah, it's I first off, it's just fun. I love like having a hat just on. It just I feel different. I feel cool. I mean, if I wore this out in public, I might feel a little weird because there's not a lot of people with top hats walking around. But like when I'm playing a character, I feel like it adds a certain element, an additional visual element that allows me to say, hey, I'm playing this character. And this is something I learned in improv, even though in improv we usually don't use props unless it's a specific prop game. We try to always pantomime our props. But one thing that I was always taught is that if you're embodying a character, sometimes you have to play several characters and it's hard to keep track. And so you can find certain touchstones that you always get into to play a certain character. Like maybe, oh, if I'm playing Reginald, then I'll always pretend like I'm tipping my hat when I enter a scene. And so with the props, it helps a lot because it's like, let's say I'm playing several games in a week. If I'm doing the same voice, then an easy way for me to not accidentally slip into someone else is having those props to always be able to go back and like, okay, I don't remember. Oh, okay, this is how it feels. Whether it be with the hat or sometimes more viscerally, like with different makeup. Sometimes when I look at myself on the camera and see, okay, this is how I look right now. This is who I'm being right now, which also extends to separating the character from me because a lot of times I might have like a very immediate reaction to something. Like let's say the GM has a bombshell of information and maybe Matt responds to it differently than Reginald would. But having those touchstones, having the hat or being able to see myself and being okay, that's not Matt, that helps me react as Reginald should, as opposed to letting my own mat feelings get in the way.
That is, I think, some really good advice, whether you're a veteran player or a new player, to have touchstones to remind you of whose shoes you're currently walking in. I really like that. I'm going to keep it in my back pocket.
Thank you.
Do you have any other advice for folks that are just starting out on their improv or their TTRPG journey that you could share?
Yeah. As far as improv goes, and I'll try to tie these two together, because I feel like there are certain elements of if you're doing improv to do improv as opposed to using those skills in TTRPGs. Um, if you're trying to learn how to improvise, then don't be too hard on yourself. There are going to be many times if you're taking a class or if you're just trying it at the table or something. There are many times where you're gonna be beating yourself up afterwards, where you're like, "Oh my gosh, I said this thing. I thought it was gonna be funny, and it wasn't funny. I suck." And it's like it's easy to get into that negativity spiral. But as someone who lived without improv for so many years of his life, I could say that there's so many areas of improv that are that you're working on. You might be really good at voices. One of my friends who I learned with, even before we started taking classes, was really good at different accents and dialects because he grew up around so many different cultures. And so even before that, he would jump into a Russian accent or an Italian accent. And I would be so jealous because I couldn't do any of that. But for him, that skill was already at like if we're using D&D attributes, that was probably like an 18 already. Whereas I was at like a 4. And so I was like, okay, that's where he's at there, but there's more than that. There's stuff like being able to commit to your character, listening, and all those elements. And there are gonna be times where things suck. There are gonna be times where you do things well. And just remember that both of those are necessary because they allow you to build all those skills. Where sure, my friend does does the voices super well, but then another day he'll do the listening and struggle a little bit, but he's building that up. And when I am doing the listening, I pride myself on that. I'm doing the listening, I might have that high stat, but then I try the voice and it sucks. I just need to remember that it's like it's always building, not to compare myself to anyone, nor should you. Like whenever you're working on these sorts of skills, it's easy to compare yourself to people, but you don't know where their backgrounds are, where their strengths are. They might be jealous of you for one thing that you do super well, and you have no idea. Where you might be jealous of them for doing that other thing. And so for like improv journey wise, don't be too hard on yourself. You're giving it a shot and always make sure that you just keep going because I think that the ability to improvise, it's applicable to so many different facets of life where sometimes you're just placing an order at a coffee shop and they're like, "Oh, we're out of this." And then like maybe when I was 17, I would have been like, "I don't know what to do now. I guess I'm gonna leave." Or now I'm like, "Okay, what do you recommend instead?" And then putting it into TTRPGs. Um, a lot of times, if you're just starting off with improvisation, whether you're playing a character doing their voice for the first time, or you're DMing and deciding to make up a shop for the first time, or anything like that, uh, remember that you're trying, you're building those skills, and the first time, the first time you might not be proud of it. You might be. Sometimes it works out, and those moments are beautiful, but every now and then you're gonna come up with a name or a voice where you're like, I really wish I didn't do that. That's all that's all growth. Because when we make a mistake, the way I see it is that if you've made a mistake, you're still stronger than you were before. Because one, you're dealing with the pain of making the mistake. But two, now you know something that doesn't work or something that you can't execute effectively now. And that's something you didn't know before you made the mistake. And so, regardless, you have that knowledge now, and you can walk forward with that knowledge and keep progressing.
Thank you so much for sharing so many wonderful insights, not only on just improv in general, but also towards TTRPGs. So I think we're going to shift just a little bit more into the TTRPGs. Could you tell me something that is exciting you in tabletop right now, whether it's TTRPGs or card games, board games, anything that you're excited about?
There's so much stuff. There are lots of projects that I'm involved in that are really fun, but one thing that I've been chomping at the bit for, and I mean, I guess it depends on availability and interest, but uh and also I can't sing, but I've been so addicted to K-pop Demon Hunters that I'm like, you know, I can't sing. I'm not Korean, but I would love to do something based on K-pop Demon Hunters, whether it be in that world or if it's like a C-pop thing, I don't know. I just love the idea. I love the concept, and I've been I've been listening to the music nonstop. So that's my jam. And I just like I think I saw one thing pop up recently and I'm like, hell yeah, I wish I was a part of it, but hell yeah, I'm glad y'all are doing it.
I love that. Okay, what are your top three songs? Not to put you on the spot, but
Okay. Free is the first one. Golden is the second one. And then it's got Soda Pop as the third one. The shoulders, man.
hell yeah, I love that. Oh, okay, very cool. Well, folks, you heard it here. If you're doing something that's K-pop Demon Hunter related, you need to invite Matt because he
Yeah.
is going to be there and you're going to have an amazing time. You're going to get a really cool costume out of it. So invite
Yes.
him. I do have
Thank
some bad news though. We only have two questions left of
Oh my
the
gosh.
interview portion. I know.
Oh snap. Okay.
Ugh,
We'll make them count.
we'll make them count. So this is one of my, actually, these are two of my favorite questions to ask folks. I think that humans in Dungeons and Dragons get a really bad rep in
Mm,
D&D because they can be boring. Like, why be a boring human when you could be like a dwarf with a beard, or you could be a sexy
right.
tiefling because we're all bisexual. So
Mhm.
I'd love to hear from you about a standout character that has been human, and it doesn't necessarily have to be in D&D. It could be in any TTRPG that you've played, but
Mhm.
what made them stand out as a human?
One character in particular that stood out for me is this was a little while ago, but it was a character that was playing I was playing a staff character in Flabbergasted, and Flabbergast doesn't have other like ancestries, and so this might be a little bit of a cop out, but the thing that the thing that I really enjoyed was that playing that character in that particular role where we established the connection of my character working for another character. It let me it let me walk a line of being dignified, front facing, but then being mischievous and cunning behind the scenes. Because this character, Jeffrey, was all about doing whatever it took to make sure that the Duchess he was serving was going to get what she wanted. And in that game, I had a chance to infiltrate. this manner and try to get look the premise the objective was pretty silly, which is right on brand for that game. But the idea was that we were trying to compete with another group to try to get a picture with the Duke. And so uh with that, we're like, we have to get our hands on a camera. And then as Jeffrey, I was like, I, I'm on it, my lady, and went into the kitchen and uh, talked with the cook. In essence, trying to find maybe someone else who was like part of the staff, and being able to relate to them. And then finding, and this is a big credit to the GM, um, Emily, from Level One Geek. She's fantastic. But trying to find the common ground of, oh, we both work for people and we both take great pride in our work. And so maybe you might be able to help me out. But then being able to pick up on a little bit of romantic um, inclinations, and it being one of the flirtiest, but also like the dance. I got to lean in on some like kind of K-drama esque tropes of, the kiss isn't happening yet. It's like the lean in and then a whisper in the ear, all that stuff. And it just felt so um it just felt so fun. It felt so uh like the spirit of improv, and we were both able to go on that journey together, and that character like being so driven, being willing to go to any lengths, and then finding love maybe. I don't know. It was one shot, and so who knows what happens after that, but being able to make that connection so effortlessly on the spot, it was a lot of fun. And I feel like um I guess tying it back to human playing human, I felt like, um, there are times in my life where, sometimes for your family, for work or whatever, sometimes you just got to get stuff done. And then in the course of that, sometimes good things pop up, good things happen. And so that's a character that stands out for me.
Oh, incredible. I mean, sometimes I feel like the most fun part is the build up before the kiss. The build up can be
Yes.
better than the kiss.
Hmm.
So I
Hmm.
absolutely feel that. And now, Matt, we are on our last question, and that is that tabletop implies the existence of table bottom. And I would love to hear where you weigh in on this philosophical debate.
The way I see it, I think it's all about giving and receiving. And look, when we all decide to play the game, the reason why it's called tabletop, it's like we're all giving our energy to say we're gonna play this game, whatever game it is. And then once we get into the game, when the DM lays the land, it's tabletop time. They're giving you all the information and the energy. But then as the DM, if you're receiving the feedback, experiencing what the players are giving the world, it's table bottom time. And then the players, as they thrust forward in the story, as they're doing things, they're table topping, they're affecting the world. But then, of course, they have to feel the ramifications to see what happens as a result of their actions, as well as the actions of whatever forces are trying to topple the world around them. So both are at play, both exist, and I feel like depending on the type of GM you are or the type of player you are, you might have to do one role more than the other, but you can't ignore the other. It might be I mean, 50-50 sometimes, 40-60, maybe 80-20. It just depends on what everyone's comfortable with. There's always moments where you have to be the one to take it, to let your NPC get bowled over by the moment, or to let your character feel demolished by what's happening around them. It's all about finding that balance with your play group, about having the conversations so that everyone can walk away from a session satisfied.
It almost sounds like you're advocating for the existence of table switches.
Absolutely. Everyone is. I think everyone is a table switch.
Incredible. Well, thank you, my friend. We are about to move into our game portion.
Meow.
All right, my friend, we are here to play a game, and I believe that you have picked Mind Meld, which is a very fun game that we've only played one other time on the show. So, for those of you at home who don't know how to play Mind Meld, Matt and I are each going to pick a random word in our head. We're going to count down from 3, and then we're going to say the word at the same time. And then we're just going to keep trying to meld our minds until we say the same word. So,
Yes.
Matt, are you ready?
Yes, ready.
All right, amazing. Let's count down in three,
Three,
two,
two,
one.
one. Music.
Moon. Ooh,
Sorry, what did you say?
I said moon, and you said
Moon.
music. That made
Okay.
me. Ooh.
Okay.
Okay, I've got my word.
Okay. Me too.
Okay, cool. Three,
Three, two,
two, one.
one. Howl.
Link. Lincoln Howell. Okay. Okay, I've got my word.
Okay, me too.
Three,
Three,
two,
two,
one.
one.
Blonde.
Werewolf.
Oh,
Oh, snap.
okay. Okay, I've got it.
Okay.
Three,
Three,
two,
two,
one.
one.
Hair.
Hair. Oh,
Nice.
yes, let's
Hell
go.
yeah. Incredible. Nice. GG's,
Oh
we
my
did it. That
goodness.
was that was
Yeah.
good.
Yeah,
Okay.
let's
That makes
go.
me feel so much better after the long time that it took me and Julie to
Oh.
reconnect. But again,
Hey,
Julie and
sometimes you
I,
have those days.
sometimes you have those days. My partner
Mhm.
and I have given up before,
Oh, yeah.
because
Same,
it's just
same.
gone too far.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
sometimes you have to do that.
Absolutely. The important part is trying, you know?
Ain't that the truth? Well, my friends, we are going to go to a super short break while you're hear me talk about some upcoming charity and TTRPG initiatives that we have going on. Don't go anywhere. Alrighty, my friends, we are back. And Matt, I really want to give you some time to talk about some of the upcoming TTRPG projects and even improv projects that you have going on, what we can expect maybe to see on your YouTube, and maybe even some things that have passed. So I'm going to let you take it away from here.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jess. Thank you so much for having me. This has been such a joy. I appreciate it. Um, so as far as what I'm up to, every other Tuesday, I'm over on Tales from the Table Studios playing Sentai and Sensibility, where if you feel like you like Pride and Prejudice, but you wish there were a little more Power Rangers in there, then catch that every other Tuesday. Every other Sunday, I'm on Altered Echo Archives on Twitch or on Moonbeam. We're playing the Cipher system, where I'm playing a risk-taking character, kind of based on like a Sun Wukong sort of inspiration. It's a lot of fun. And then you can catch the VODs of this over on Logomancy Media, but I'm playing Emergent, a TTRPG based on playing teenagers who develop special powers, and I'm playing a human magic boy who's trying to figure out how to be a person. And of course, over on my YouTube, I'll be releasing more and more content, providing role playing advice for beginners, as well as kind of demystifying some of the improv terms like yes and whatnot, to make it more practical for people at the table. But Jess, thank you so much for having me. This has been such a joy, and I just really love talking with you.
Hell yeah, I appreciate you coming on. This has been a joy. Friends, go and check out everything that Matt just talked about and especially go to his YouTube. There are so many incredible videos to help you become a better role player. I love getting to watch them. So, with that being said, Matt, you have a good morning proclamation to deliver to the people. Are you ready?
Yes, yes, I am ready. Uh, Good morning to anyone anxious about role playing at the table, and to them only.
You heard it here, folks. I'm just the human, and this is Matt. And together we are saying good morning to anyone anxious about role playing at the table and to them only. And before we leave, I feel like we should do this, Matt. Should we show the people Lily the cat?
Absolutely. Lily is a star. She's getting her beauty rest right now, but I mean, she can never say no to her fans. So, in the little 3, 2, 1,
I love it so much.
there she
She's
is.
such a sweetie. Ah,
The greatest.
all right. Goodbye, folks.